Okay, great. Awesome. We are rolling now. The recording is in progress. So if there's anybody that maybe is a little camera shy, which is okay, we have our one of our employees promoting attendees to panelists. So if you wouldn't like to have your video on or your audio on, that's okay. But we do encourage that if you have any questions, that you absolutely use the chat box or raise your hand so that I know who's asking a question and we can get to it, one at a time. So without further ado, welcome to Nokomis Moccasin Project Workshop. I'm super excited to introduce a wonderful, wonderful community worker. She's a mom, an auntie, wonderful friend. She's definitely dedicated her passion and her love to the youth of not only this community in the Niagara region, but extended communities across Ontario, across the globe. She's very, very talented. I can't even go on to say how talented this wonderful lady is. I'm thankful to have known her throughout my time. I'm sure she's seen me since I was, in high school myself, and now later on a young mom as well. She's also a Nokomis, and I will allow her to emphasize and share on her passion and her love for who she is. So without further ado, tonight's facilitator, Shannon Cotter.
Thanks, Jill. I appreciate your kind words. Hello, everybody. So I'm Shannon. I'm Anishinaabe from Alderville First Nation. I belong to the Martin clan, and I reside here in Fort Erie. I've been here a very long time, more than half my life, I'll say that. I have 2 children, and I have 2 grandchildren, and I'm a moccasin maker. I've been working to perfect my my skill in moccasin making for a number of years. I've been making them now over 20 years, and I'm also a facilitator with Manitoba Mucklucks. And yeah, this is just a little bit. I had so I'm sure we've all heard about the residential school and the finding of the children at the former residential schools that have taken place over the last several months. And I felt very compelled and moved to do something when I seen the first lights of it on the news with Kamloops in BC, when they found the 215 remains there. My heart felt for my people and my cousins, and I wanted to do something, and I had to figure out what it was I was going to do and how I could help and bring an awareness, because these are topics that aren't talked about enough amongst ourselves, as well as with our friends as well. So, and I was like, oh my God, what can you do? You're one person. And I was like, well, you make moccasins. And this is a conversation I'm having it with myself. And I'm like, okay, I went to bed that night and I was like, I'm going to make a pair of moccasins for every one of those children. So that came the light of the Nokomis 215. And it comes from for my grandmother. I honor my grandmother, which is the word Nokomis, and also because I'm also a grandmother, I also have grandchildren, so I know what it's like to think about those grandchildren and the visions and the thoughts that I have for them growing up, and what my grandmother must have thought for those same visions for me growing up, because it was a different time for her where she couldn't proudly be Indigenous. And so I stand here today proudly Indigenous for her and for my family. And this is where my project was born from. So since then, I call out to community. I went through all my stuff and I started making these little moccasin kits and getting community involved and having little pop-up sessions and being invited to church groups and different community programs and projects to share a little bit about my project and to make these moccasins. And that's what I've been doing for the last, I guess since the beginning of summer, and it's still going. And it's been great. It's been nice to meet lots of people and see the great work that's come back to the project, and to be here with you guys this evening. And for the next couple of days, we'll be chatting and sharing a little bit about this. So this is my day job. I do this by day and night I make and sell moccasins, and I teach youth how to make moccasins. And this evening we are going to make moccasins for the project. These moccasins are not, they're not for to be worn. They would be ideally if we were wearing them as slippers, or if they were for a child, we'd put liners in them. However, they're just meant as little mementos that will get sent off to Kamloops to honor those children. And and I picked orange. I went with the theme of Phyllis, from her orange shirt campaign. And orange seems to be tied with the residential school. So I went with an orange flower in the beginning, and I've tailored the beadwork down so that we're fitting all skill levels. So if you, in your packages, you guys would have received a baggie that has a paper plate attached to it. And inside, I'm just going to walk through the pieces that are in there. You just have to bear with me while I get my angling right of making sure I'm in the right view here. So if you open up your package, inside your package, you're going to have several pieces of leather, and they'll be in a various of colors. You may have brown, you may have white, you may have tan, you may have pink or blue. So we're not going to focus so much on the color. So in there, you're going to have these two little round pieces. They're called vamps. Those are the tops of your moccasins, and those are the pieces we're going to be beading this evening. So you can set those aside because we're going to use those this evening. And then you're also going to have two long pieces like this. This will be for the cuff, which I'll show you. This gets attached last. It'll go around the moccasin, so those can get set aside. And then you have two like string-like pieces that are shaped. They're kind of round-like. I'll show you what those are. They're called the welt, and they actually get sandwiched in when we sew, so it gives it a nice finished look. So we'll get to that later. So those can get set aside. And then you have these two bigger pieces. These are your base pieces. So this is where your foot will be, and then this puckering. So that's the big piece here. So you're just going to look at your leather. Take a look at it. If it's marked up, no worries. We'll use that as the inside, and it won't be seen. So we can set those aside. So that's the base pieces. So for right now, all you're going to need is one of these little round pieces. And then you are also given a paper plate, and you were given a package of orange beads. We may or may not get to use these. I did put these in. We may be able to, depending on how everybody's skill level is and how far. And how far. Does somebody have a question?
Okay. Hi, it's Nang. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Pop-up just came saying the host wants to speak to me.
No, that's okay, Nung. You're good. If you can just go on mute, we're fine.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so in your kits, you would have gotten this bag of just orange beads, nothing more in it. You can set those aside. We may or may not get a chance to use them. They are for a filler if we're speedy and we get through it. Then you have another set of bag with beads in it. There's various beads in there. We're going to be using those. So you can open up your bag and you can pour them onto your plate. As you can see, you'll see a variety of beads, which I've used here in the sample that I've done. And so I will show you how to do those 3 different flowers. And I'm going to leave that up to you if you choose to do all 3 of them, if you choose to just do one of them. But you'll just have to make do with the beads that you have before you. So I have my beads out on my plate. I'm going to set it aside because I'm also going to finish going through what's in the kit. In the kit here, you have you'll have one of my business cards. On the back is my email, my text number, and also there's a QR code here. So if you scan this will take you right to my Facebook page. And later tonight, hopefully the video will be up on the page. So if you need to go back and visit any of the steps that we do here tonight and into the next couple of days, you can find them there. Or if you have any questions and you want to reach out, you can message me through this Facebook or email as well. So this is sinew. This is how we'll be sewing our moccasins together. So I will walk through steps on how to split it and how we'll use it a little later on. And then you also have a piece of orange felt that has 2 needles. Both of these needles are leather needles. So I am going to caution you here. They are very sharp. If you take a look at the tips of those needles, they look like little daggers. They do pierce your skin. You will bleed. So please, I'm asking you to be careful. You may need a Band-Aid or Kleenex handy in case you do poke yourself. You only have 2 needles, so you have to make do with the 2 that you have. So be mindful. I will talk about when we start sewing. It is sometimes a little bit difficult to sew through leather, but the key to it is keeping your needle straight. The more you push it and bend it, you're damaging the integrity of the metal. So you also have this little card there that's got beading thread wrapped around it. Should be enough to get through your project. A great trick with beading thread is if you run out, you can use dental floss. It's very versatile, handy, and already waxed. Maybe minty a little bit, but it's a great vessel for if you run out of thread and you need some in a pinch. You also have a scrap piece of leather. It could be, I'm not sure what color. They were all different colors. This is going to be your makeshift thimble. So we'll use it, we'll fold it and use to help push your needle through the leather as we're sewing if you need it. So that's everything that you have in your kit. You will need a pair of scissors to be able to cut your thread. And yeah, so if we have no questions to start, I'm going to suggest you can go ahead and thread your needles. So you're going to pull off some thread. I say about an arm's length. So don't go super long, don't stretch out real wide, just like, you know, I would say like a couple of ruler lengths long, and you're going to thread your needle. I would start with your smaller needle, as you have 2 sizes. There's a big one and then a smaller one, and we'll use the smaller one for the bead work. So you're just going to pull off some of your thread. You're going to thread it through. You can double it up. Thread your needle. And then the one thing I'm gonna say, I see a lot of when people go, when I say knot your thread, you don't tie the knot to the needle. So not to the needle. You're gonna tie it at the end of the thread.
I have just a quick reminder for all of the students that if you are wanting to get your 6 hours of volunteer time for high school, that your completed moccasins need to be dropped off to your YSO or have your YSO come pick them up.
That's an awesome incentive. You're going to use about an arm's length. So you just want to work with enough thread. And it's okay, just put enough to work with. And then if you need, you'll get a little more if you run out. You just don't want to make it too long because then it's very hard to work with, and you don't want to get tangles and knots in your thread. So I'll give everybody a minute to get situated with their needle and thread. And if you want to give me a thumbs up or let me know when everybody's good, we can get started, and I'll walk through the first steps.
We have a youth asking you to say how much again they need. They were absent for a second.
Yeah, I did go over that just now. You can double thread it. The beads we're using, if you take a look, they're a little bit bigger than the package of orange beads. The package of just orange beads are a size 10. These are a seed bead. And the ones that we're using with the multiple colors in there, I think we have some size 6 and size 8 beads and some bugle beads in here. So yeah, you can definitely double your thread. The holes are big enough for the beads to go, you can go back through. And if you have beading skills, by all means, do what works for you. If you don't, I'm just going to walk you through some very basics. So again, when you thread your needle, you're going to go to the thread it, pull both strings together, and then at the end, you're going to tie your knot. Don't tie it to the eye of the needle. Also in your kits, you have these cute little flower sequence, I guess they are. And those make one of those flowers as well. So I will totally leave that up to you. If you want to do one of each or multiples, just make sure you have enough beads in your package because you will be making do with what you have. You don't need to do a stem, or you can. That piece of creativity, I'm just going to leave to you. This was just the sample I put together so that you could see something. Nope, you're not behind. Again, just get your needle threaded. We haven't started anything yet. I just walked through the materials. And the first thing, I'll back up a little bit. First thing we're going to be working with is this roundish piece, kind of looks like an egg. This is the vamp. This is the top of the toe, and that is where our beadwork will go. So that'll be the piece we're using. And it looks like you have somebody missing a kit. And again, when it comes to the sides, just look for the best side. If your one side is all marked up, that'll be your underneath. And then you'll go with the smooth side or the whatever looks nicer.
And Shannon, which needle are we using? The smaller one or the bigger one?
I suggest the smaller one for the beads.
Great.
Yeah. Just please keep in mind, they are both leather needles. They will pierce your skin. They do hurt and you do bleed. So please be mindful.
And then once we've threaded it, you want us to knot it at the bottom as well, right?
Yeah, you're knotting the end of the thread.
Right.
Yeah. And you probably want to put a couple of knots. And it's, you know, you don't think nothing about knots, but let me tell you, it's a tricky skill. And it takes a few minutes to learn. So it's a skill that you do want to practice. Eventually, it's like tying the end of a balloon. That's what I tell people when I'm trying to teach them, is that it's just like tying a balloon. And you want to hold the knot in place, and you'll do it a few times, and hopefully you'll get them real close to each other or right on top of each other, because you want to just make sure it's not going to go through your material when you start. You can go either smooth side or fuzzy side, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'll just give it another minute. I'll walk back through again the steps. Smaller leather needle is what you're going to be threading. Knot goes at the end of the thread. You're going to put a couple of knots. We're going to be using these round egg looking pieces. These are the vamps for the toe, and that is where we're going to be placing our beadwork. We're only going to be beading the flower. This fancy dancy edging you see here, that'll be what we do on day 3, if we have the time to do that, to add a little embellishments to our moccasins. But if we don't, that's okay too.
Wonderful.
And we're,
yeah, we have Boston. How long are you asking? How long the string for the string?
okay, yeah. Okay, if you're asking about the thread, I would say an arm's length. Don't go too long, because you don't want to get tangled. I would just go about an arm's length. So I usually just take my thread and I just do an arm's length.
Do we use the big or small needle?
The small needle.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep. So at any time, if you think you're behind or you're a little frustrated, you're not too sure, please just ask me. I will gladly back up and cover what you're missing. And again, you guys have my business card in your kits with the sinew. There's a QR code on the back there that will take you to my Facebook page, where a video will be hopefully up tonight, so that you can get anything that you missed here tonight. And I'll recap everything again tomorrow too. So don't stress it. So I'm just going to give it another minute, and then I will start with putting the beads on. Small needle for beadwork on the vamps, arm length of string. Right. Absolutely. And you'll see in your kits, you've got a couple of variations of, well, you got orange, you have the longer orange tube beads, those are called bugle beads. And then you have some orange beads. I believe there's maybe some yellow in there. And that'll be where you get to add your creativity in. As you can look at the sample here, I have a yellow bead in the center and then some orange beads around, and that's like a little daisy flower. And then with the bugle beads, I made another little flower, and then I just used the sequent flower, and I just added a bead to hold it in place there. And that could be yellow or orange or whatever other color you have in there. I did put some green in there, so if you wanted to make a little vine or stem or leaf to add to it, you can. It doesn't necessarily need to be this pattern. You can place them however you want. You can put one on there, you could put two on there, put all three on there. I will leave that up to you. Just make sure you count out your beads, that you have enough for two. So whatever you do for this one, you'll need to do for the second one. Awesome. Yeah, the needles are definitely challenging.
Yeah, good point, Johnny. Others might have noticed that as well. So Johnny had actually mentioned that the needles were on the leather. So for those that that may have missed that, I hope that you are okay. And Shannon has been awesome of reminding us to be very, very careful while we're working with leather needle, any needle. It can be very fast. You prick your finger, and that's definitely a little pain for sure.
And even for the experienced beater, it still happens today. It's unpleasant feeling. So I try to be super mindful and cautious as I'm doing it. And I do advise you of that. If you happen to have Band-Aids handy, keep one on your workstation, or at least some Kleenex or something. Just hold your Kleenex or whatever, wherever you've pricked yourself, and hold it for a few minutes, and you should be okay. Awesome. So how do we think everybody's doing? Do we got quite a few people got their needles threaded and knotted? Is it okay, safe for me to move on? I can always back up. I'm cool with that too.
All right, they are ready, Shannon.
All right, awesome. Okay. So I have my vamp piece here, and now I just have to figure out my placement of where I'm going to place my flowers. So again, I'm going to leave that to you. And so I'm just popping up. I'm going to put my needle from underneath. And if you can't see my hands, please just tell me. I'm trying to be mindful because I'm watching the laptop screen, and I'm also trying to make sure I stay in the frame of my my phone and my handy dandy extendo arm thing here. So I'm going to pop my needle up from underneath so that my knot is underneath. And I'm going to pull my thread through. I'm going to make sure my knot is big enough and it's going to hold. Yep, it's not going to come through. And now I'm going to pick up one bead. I'm picking up my yellow bead. Again, whatever bead you choose to use, that's up to you. I will not stop the creative process here. Whatever works for you. So then what I did is I just tacked right down right beside. And there you go. My yellow bead is sewn on. How cool is that? One bead on. Now I'm going to pop my needle back on. Right beside it. Anywhere beside the yellow bead is fine. And now I'm going to put on about 7 of the orange beads. And if I'm moving too fast, I can go over it again. You just have to just tell me, give me a minute, let me catch up, show me again. I will show you as many times as I possibly can in our time frame here this evening. So I have 6 on there. I'm going to put one more. So there's my line of orange beads, as you can see here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap them around wrap them around the yellow bead. Look at that. That looks like it could be a daisy flower. So now I'm going to poke my needle down right where I started. And then I'll go back and I'll tack them down so that they go into place. They stay in place, I should say. It's a little finagling. And beading is one of those things. It's definitely a teaching in patience. So the more you do, the better you get, and the more patience you have. It can become frustrating in the beginning. And when that happens, sometimes you have to just put it down, take a deep breath, walk away, come back and try again. Okay, so I have my beads in place. As you can see, I have my beads down, and I pull my thread and they pop up like that. I'm just going to lay them back down, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my needle back up. And this is where I'm going to go back through beads, because that's going to help secure them and tack them down. So I'm going to go back through 2 or 3 at a time. So I'm going to connect the beads together, give them a little tug so that I can secure them, and then I'm going to pop my needle back down the bottom. Yes, patience is definitely key. Everybody's like, oh, you're so patient. I've had a lot of practice and I'm still practicing. And if it happens to get all tangled up and you can't figure it out, it's okay. Just cut it off and restart. It is okay to do that. So now I'm just working my way back around the flower because I'm tacking down because I don't want them loose and floppy. So I'm just picking wherever, and I'm going to go through 2 at a time and tack them down. And when I say tack down, I'm just stringing my thread through 2 of them, and then I'm popping it back down to the bottom. And then I'm going to poke back up somewhere else around the flower and go through 2 more until I feel like they're secure. So I feel over here they're secure, over here they're still lifting. So this is the spot I'm going to go back through.
Great. Awesome. I love the thumbs up, Johnny, letting me know you got your flower down. Thank you so much for, no, not your flower. I just like the thumbs up. You're letting me know you're good. You're in a good space. Loving it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we love the engagement and the communication is great.
Mhm.
So I'm going to just tack that down, and then my daisies, well, I mean daisy, because it's only one, is now on there and secure, and I'm happy with that.
Perfect. We have Deborah. She said, oops, I used the wrong color. It's really funny sometimes how things are just meant to be the way they're supposed to be. So there's definitely a reason you chose a different color than orange. So no worries, Deborah.
Yeah, absolutely. The creativity here is all on you. Just because this is the sample I'm showing you doesn't necessarily mean this is what you have to do. I'm just showing you a couple of techniques, a couple of different flower techniques, and I'm leaving it up to you guys to use your creativity and what works for you. You want to put all 3 on, have at her. You want to use 1. You like the daisies, you want to do 2 or 3 daisies, do 2 or 3 daisies. I'm leaving that to you, but just be mindful of the beads that you have and separate them so that you know you have enough for both of your vamps, because you do have 2 vamps we're beading.
Awesome. Awesome.
So if everybody's kosher with that, I'm going to go on and I'm going to show you the next flower. I'm going to show you how to do the one with the bugle beads. Same technique. We're just going to use those longer bugle beads. Yeah. And
great.
Again, same thing. I'm going to pop up from underneath. And I'm going to start again. I'm going to use a yellow bead. I'm going to lay it into place. Once you get the very fundamentals of beading and the techniques, it's very repetitive. And then it almost becomes like muscle memory. The more and more I do it, it's so natural and seamless for me. But it's also still natural for me to make mistakes and stuff too if I'm not paying full attention. So there, my yellow bead is down. And now I'm gonna pick up my my orange bugle beads here. Oh, no, see, look at, this is what I'm talking about right here. I forgot to pop my needle up. My needle needs to be back up on the top surface so that my bead lays where it needs to and not underneath. So, yep, my bugle bead goes through my needle. And then I'm just gonna lay one down. And I use my finger just to push it so where I know where it's gonna be at. I'm gonna hold it in place and then I'm gonna pop my needle right down where it's lying. And then that bead is in place. One bead on, 4 more to go. But you could put more on too. You could go all the way around. As you can see on this flower, I didn't go all the way around the yellow. I just put 5 of them on. And I was okay with that. So put
I
on
was
another.
planning. Oh,
Yep, go ahead.
you go.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I just happen I repeat myself a lot. I want to just make sure people got the steps. So please
Yeah.
go ahead.
I planned on making a poppy, but there wasn't any red beads in my kit, sadly.
Oh. So yeah, again, I'm just going to lay that bugle bead down. This is where I want it. And then I'm going to pop my needle back down. And if you're having a hard time pushing your needle through the leather, remember you have that scrap piece. You just use it, fold it, and push it through. Try to keep your needle straight though when you're pushing and weaving it through your leather. Again, because if you use the table and you're trying to push it down, be mindful. You want to try to keep that needle straight. The more you bend it, you're weakening the integrity of the metal, and the needle will break. And you only have 2 needles in your kit, so we want to be able to get through it.
That is a great reminder, Shannon. I don't know how many, once when I was first start beading, I found that I was snapping my needles left and right. And I think the best tip, just like you said, Shannon, was you just have to be mindful and patient. I thought I could just devour. Yeah, there you go, Johnny. Johnny has needles. He's needle nose, pliers. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yep. And that's the thing, right? You pick up little tricks and tips as you go along. And two, when you're buying your own supplies, you start to be a little bit more mindful. So it's about $8 for a package of leather needles, and you get about 12 needles in the bag. So they don't last very long if you're snapping 2 or 3 at a time. So yeah, you want to just be mindful.
That's right. Especially, we're in the Fort Erie area, and we're not, I guess, Six Nations is truly blessed with Aerocrafts. We have minimal craft stores in the area, definitely.
Yeah. And you still got to wait for Amazon even.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So again, I'm laying on another bead. I'm placing it where I'd like for it to lay with my fingers, and then I'm just popping my needle back down.
Awesome.
And then one thing too, you're going to learn when you're beading, and you'll get there if this is something you want to truly carry on with, is your tension. So when you're beading, it might feel a little like loose or floppy. The more you bead, the more you pick up tips and tricks. Like I said, I go back through and I tighten things up, and you end up paying more attention to your tension so that you have the tension so that things are in place. Because ideally, if we were wearing our moccasins, we want to make sure they're secure in place, because if we snagged it on a stair or something, we don't want that to catch and pull apart, and then our beadwork is all over the roadway or whatever. So we just want to be thoughtful when we're doing that, and it's good practice for your tension. So again, I'm popping back up from underneath. Putting on another one of these bugle beads. Again, holding it where I'd like it to lay, and then I'm poking back through the bottom. And then I'm going over to the other side. This is going to be my last bead for this flower. Back up by the yellow one. And then another orange bead on there. Yep, that looks about right for me. So I'm going to pop it down. And then there we go. I have another flower completed. It's fun to work with different beads and different shapes and sizes. You get to, so now I'm going to do, because I feel like it's moving around a little bit, and these ones are harder because they're longer beads. I'm just going to flip it over to the back side, and I'm going to tie a knot. It's good to knot off your work periodically. And that'll just help secure it and not get so crazy on me.
Wonderful.
All right, there it is. There's the second flower. I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to move over, and the sequin one, my favorite one of all. It is super fast and super easy. Put my needle where I'd like it to lie. Pop back up. I'm going to grab my sequin, my flower sequin here. And these little suckers I got at Dollarama, which was a great little score there. So yeah, I put it on there like that. Now I'm going to hold that sequin in place. I'm going to grab one of these yellow beads, and it's going to plop right in there. And then I'm just going to go around that yellow bead and get back through the flower hole into the back. And there we go. We got the third flower on. Look at that. All three flowers are on there. And again, like I said, with the stem, you can put a stem on there like that and connect them, depending if you've chosen all three or one or two of them. However, you could just put like 3 or 4 beads right here, and it could be a leaf to that one flower. I'll leave that to you. That's your creativity. You need to put a little bit of yourself into it, or if you want to put a stem and connect them, by all means, you can do that as well.
So wonderful.
So how's everybody doing? Let's do a quick check-in. How's the flowers coming along? Do you need me to show you another again? For those of you that did partake in this project back in the summer with the summer boot camps, or any of my community little pop-ups, you want to see the stem? Yep. Okay, I'm going to get to the stem in just a second. This is definitely a little bit easier than those first flowers we did. We did fully beaded ones. I did tailor it just so that we could actually see some progress in completing the moccasins, and also to fit everybody's skill level. Okay, so for the stem, I'm going to go ahead and I have some of my green beads here. I'm going to pick up 5 green beads at one time. So as you can see, I have five of my green beads on my thread here. And I usually work in sequence of either 3 or 5 when I'm beading. And it's just, for me, it's my comfort, what I'm comfortable with and what I can handle. So I'm going to lay them. This is where I want them to lay. I'm going to pop my needle back down. And then as you can see, they're kind of loose if I do that. So I'm going to come back up in between them. So like where the middle bead is, and then I'm going to come up right beside it. And then I'm going to go back through 3 of them. And doing that is just going to secure them into place, and then they won't be so wobbly. And then I'm going to give my string a little tug, and then they're a little more secure. So now I'm going to put on another 5. And the amount you put on is up to you, however long you want your stem. I'm not really sure the placement of your flowers. if you're going to connect them. So I'm just going to weave mine over this way just a little bit to give a little curve to it. You can see that there. My fingers in place of where my beads are laying, and that's where I'm going to put my needle down. And same thing, I'm going to come back up in the middle of those 5 beads that I just put on. And then I'm going to go back through the last 3, which will secure them a little better in place. And I'll give it a little tug. Yep, everything's secure, nicely in place. Pop my needle back down to the bottom. And there's my one stem. And I'm going to do a couple little stems off just to connect my flowers. And those I'll just figure out what's going to fit there. I'm thinking probably like 3 beads just because of the spacing. Maybe 2. And when I'm not sure, I said 3 and then I said 2. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on 2 and then I'll see where they lay. Oh yeah, 2 will be enough. And then I'll just pop it down where it fits. And the same thing, I want to secure it into place because I don't want those 2 just flopping around. So I'm going to come up in between the 2 of them and I'm going to go back through one of them and tack it down.
Oops.
Oh, sorry, I'm just shaking my camera here. There we go. Try to get it still.
Awesome. I see lots of, for those of you who do have your video on, head down means you are focused. So I see lots of you focused on, you know, customizing your moccasin vamps. Great.
Awesome. So now I'm just going to pop over to my other one and put a little stem on there. Again, I think I'm just going to do 2 beads. I think that'll be about all that fits in there. As you can see, I wasn't precise with my spacing. So it will look maybe a bit different than the first one I did, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. There's no wrong way to do it when you set out with good intentions. So if your intentions are well and what you set out to do, there's no wrong way to do that. So don't be so hard on yourself. We are our biggest critics, and we will pick apart our work and be like, oh, I don't like this, and oh, look at this, and don't be so hard on yourself. And honestly, with moccasins, these are the tops of the moccasins. They're on somebody's feet. Ideally, they would be on somebody's feet, and they're on the ground. Nobody's going to be that close and eyeballing all your imperfections. Only you can see those imperfections. And there is nothing on this planet that is perfect. Everything is perfectly imperfect. And that's the way Creator has made us. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that.
We have Alexandra. She said she had finished her flowers. Great.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Do you want to give us a, can you,
Yep,
are you
okay.
able to show us? Can we see? I don't even know if I can see it, honestly, unless I scroll through this list of people here. If you're able to show, or maybe even drop a picture in the comments, that would be cool. So if you have finished and you've finished your flower and you're happy with your vamp, you can go on over to your second one. You do, I'm looking for my other one. I don't have another one right here. So you can go over to your second one and you can start beading that one. So there is the one I just did for the, and this will be my second foot to that pair for the sample.
Wonderful. Awesome. We have a few questions. I'm just going to read them off.
Yes,
We have Nolan. Can I turn my camera on and show mine? Of course you can, Nolan.
yes. Are we able to pin Nolan so we can see it? Is there a way to spotlight that or
I am looking right now. I'm trying to look for Nolan's little box icon. There's so many, so be patient,
yeah,
Nolan.
just a moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'm doing since I'm done as well, I'm just gonna knot off my work. I usually do a couple of knots. I wanna make sure it's gonna stay intact. And then I'm gonna go ahead and trim it.
So Emmy, I
That's
see your
great,
hand
Nolan.
icon on. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sheree.
Oh.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I was focused on beating the one flower and I missed the sequin flower. Could I go over that again if possible?
Absolutely. I did see somebody else, I think Chloe as well asked about the second flower. So yeah, I can definitely go over both flowers again. Just let me knot my thread off here and I'll definitely cover those one more time. Or two more times, whatever is helpful here.
This is a good it's a good stress reliever, but also sometimes it can be very stressful.
Absolutely.
And it's really good to have multi-tool pliers because they can have a knife which can be used to cut the string when you're done.
Awesome. Just be careful.
Yeah.
It's a stress reliever and a stress causer all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going
I
to
was.
I'm going to go over the two flowers. So we've done the daisy one. I was asked about the second flower, which would have been the bugle bead flower, and then the sequence one. So the first one I'm going to do, I am going to show the sequence one first because there's only a couple of steps to that, and then I'll do the bugle bead one. So for the sequence flower, I'm going to just pop my needle up like so. I'm going to grab my handy dandy little flower sequence here. And I'm going to put my needle through the middle of it. So it's like a cup end up. So there it is there. And now in order to tack that down, I'm just going to pick up a bead. And I think this time I'm going to grab a green bead. So a yellow, orange, green, whatever you choose, which will go in the middle. And then I'm going to go around that bead and back down the whole of the flower sequence. And then that's going to actually lock that sequin into place, just like that. And there it is. There's the sequin one. So then, so now for the next one, for the bugle bead flower, I'm going to pop my needle up right here. I'm going to throw on a yellow bead for the center. So there's my yellow bead. In place there. And I'm going to pop my needle right up beside the yellow bead.
With me right now, it's so scary if I drop the needle because I got a carpet in my room, and if I drop it, it's impossible for me to find it, even with the magnet.
You want to be very careful.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see, I have my yellow bead on there. I've popped back up. Oh, but I see what I've done here. My thread is definitely way too far away from my yellow bead. So I am just going to pop that back down and I'm going to come up a little bit closer. Okay, so I want to come up beside my yellow bead. That's better. And now I'm going to put on a bugle bead. So I'm just going to grab my bugle bead, run my needle through it, carry it all the way down to the yellow bead. And then I'm just going to use my finger to place it where I want it to lie, like this. And then I'm going to tack it down. I'm going to just pop down the top there, come up the back. And there I have one bugle bead on.
Wonderful.
And then I'm going to pop my needle back up. And it's however you want to place them. As you can see on this one, I did 5. And you could go all the way around the yellow if you wanted. Maybe I'll do that with this one. Put on another bugle bead. Again, I just use my finger to figure out my placement. I want it to lay about there. And then I go back down. And then pop back up. I'm going to put on another bugle bead. Just like that. So it's just up to you how you want to place them. I think this one I'm going to go all the way around the yellow. You don't have to, you can do half or all the way around, up to you. I think this one I'm going to go all the way around. So I'm just going to pop over there, across, put on another bugle bead. And just remember, like, count your beads out, make sure you have enough to do both sides.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Can I do a different design on the set of the second piece?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Time on leather. Johnny, I love the experience. Amazing.
I remember how many times I stabbed myself making my medicine bag last year at Opportunity Knocks. And they're very sharp, but
Yes.
so much fun.
So I do have a question for our youth. While we're following along with Shannon, I definitely don't want to throw anybody off of their steps, but I do want to spark conversation around the TRC. So how many of our youth are familiar, if we can just use the chat, how many youth are familiar with the TRC?
Can I see the first one possibly again? Yeah. When you say first one, do you mean this daisy one here? Let me get in the camera view. Yes, absolutely. So I'm just going to knot this off and then I'll move over. I hope that I was able to lend the hand there to the ones that had asked for the sequence in the second flower. I'm just going to go ahead and move over. Whoops, not my thread again. And I'll go over the daisy one again. So for the daisy one, I'm just going to pop my needle up wherever I want it to lie. I'm going to grab a yellow bead for the center of the flower. And then I'm just going to lay it into place, pop my needle down to the bottom, like so. And then I'm just going to pop back up by the yellow bead. And then I'm going to put on about seven of the orange beads. That should be enough to go around the yellow. So there's my 7 beads, and I'm just going to work them around, which can sometimes be a little tricky when they don't want to cooperate. Okay, so I just want to wrap them around the yellow bead like that. I'm holding my finger in place so that I know that that's where I want my needle to go down. It will be standing up on you. Don't worry about that. We will tack them down. So as you can see, it's standing up. I'm going to put it back down. hold it into place. And then I'm just gonna work my way around that flower. Again, see, I'm coming up in by the yellow still, and I'm gonna go through 2 of those beads, and that's gonna start tacking them down. So I'm gonna go through these 2 right here. Give my thread just a little tug because I want to be mindful of my tension. Pop my needle down. And then look for some other loose ones. And the same thing, I'm just going to pop back up, go through 2 more. And I'll just do that until they all feel secure to me. I think I'm going to go through 3. Connect these ones. Yeah. Give my thread a little tug, and then I'm going to pop back down. I'm going to do that one more time. And the beautiful thing about using bigger beads is you can go through them a few more times. Sometimes can't do that, the smaller beads you use.
So Tanya's just asking, sorry, not Tanya, Tanaya, am I saying that right, hun? Tanaya? She's just asking, how do we finish? How do we finish the first vamp? Tanaya.
What do you mean by finish? So once you have your flowers on, like I said, you can do a stem or you could do like a little leaf. Once that's done, I just knot it off at the back. And then I'm going to move on and do the second one. So did that answer your question?
Just waiting for Tanaya to. Oh, she's wanting to know how to knot off the string in the back.
Okay.
Great one.
Okay. I will
Good
try
question.
to show you that the best that I can here. So I'm going to flop my vamp over to the back side where I can see all my threads and knots. And then this is really tricky. So I'm going to try to explain it. I know it's kind of hard to see because the thread is so thin, but I kind of make a loop. So I make a loop. I'm holding the top of the loop right here, and I'm going to put my needle through the loop, holding it into place. And now I got like a little, my thread is kind of twisted right there, which is great. So now what I want to do is make my loop a little bit smaller so I can manage it. And then I'm just going to use my fingers and I'm going to open that loop up and I can push that knot right down to the base of my leather. I'm going to put my finger over it and I'm going to pull. And there's my knot. I know that seems like a lot, but just give it a go. Give it a try.
So, and Emmy, am I saying that right, hun? All right. What's your question?
So my question, I think I might have messed up. So I only have this much thread left. I don't think I can make a loop, and because I've been trying to do that and I can't
Okay.
like loop it now, and I have my everything beaded on. I'm just not
Okay.
sure.
Did you double thread it?
No, I didn't.
So it's only one thread,
Yeah.
one single thread.
I think I might have tacked down a little extra on some of the beads. I think I might have forgot and then went through them like double.
Okay, that's okay. I'm
Can
just
you hold
trying to
it?
figure.
Sorry, Shannon. Just hold it up really close so Shannon can just guide. Yeah.
You
So
have
it
to
does
pin-
look doubled.
It is doubled.
Oh,
I
is
can't.
it? Okay.
I can't see. So what I would do is cut your needle off. Cut right close to the needle, and then if you have two separate threads right there, just tie them together, like if you were going to tie a knot in your shoe.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
And that was great, Emmy, because just for everyone, just a reminder, Emily, I'm sorry if it's not Emily, is it Emily? Emmy had just reminded us, awesome, to be mindful how close you are getting when it comes to using up your string. So the shorter and shorter your string gets to your vamp, just be mindful that you have enough string to tie a knot. So good one. Good reminder. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You always want to make sure that you have room to knot. I think I got booted out from my laptop. Yeah, it looks that way. Let me see if I can get back in here. That's strange. Not that that's, oh, there I am. Not that that's the important part. The important part is here. So, yeah, so to knot again, I'm going to go over that one more time. All I'm doing is making a loop. I know this sounds confusing and tricky to see because of the lighting and where we're at. However, with knotting, like I mentioned in the beginning, it is one of those things you kind of got to practice. So you might have 10 or 15 knots on there, and that's okay, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Nobody's perfect the first time. So I kind of make a loop. I put my needle through that loop, and then I use my fingers here that are in the loop, and that's going to help me. I'm going to push that loop down to the bottom, to the base of the leather, and then I'm going to put my finger over it like so, hold it into place, and then I'm going to pull right here, and then it's going to knot right to the base.
Okay, we have a youth that says, Sugoi, I just came in late. Is there any way I will still be able to complete this? So Shannon, would you be able to just quickly retrace, without going into details, just retrace what we've done so far, just to give Genevieve an idea of how she can get started on her vamps?
Absolutely. So I'll just back up a little bit so that you can see this is the vamp. I did give free rein. So these are the flowers that I did show here. If you take a look in your bag, your bead bag that you were given, you have a variety of different beads. You can just put a daisy flower on. You can put all three on. I am leaving that up to you for your creativity. I can quickly, if are we doing the 2-needle method? No, we are not. We are single needling this. I don't want to throw anybody off with that 2-needle method. For those that are dyslexic, that is very challenging. Speaking from my own experience here. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'll show you real quick. If unless you, of course, if you have beading skill, have at it. You can put your beads on however you choose. If you need a little guidance, that's kind of what I've been doing, is just guiding everybody through the process of beading their vamps. And that's where we're at this far. So if you'd like, I can go back and just go over the quick steps for the flowers if you'd like.
What's the 2-needle method?
Okay, I will go through the flower. Maybe Jill, you want to hit the 2 method while I go through the flower, if that's okay?
Perfect, perfect. I definitely don't want to speak over you. So Johnny, I will meet you in the chat.
Cool, cool. So, okay, so I'll quickly start. I'll do the daisy flower real quick. And I'm just going to use this. This is just my sampler as I back up and show different steps real quick. So if you got your needle threaded and knotted, you can single thread it or double thread it, whatever you're comfortable with. We are using size 6 and size 8 beads along with bugles. So there's definitely room for double thread and room to go back through them if you like. So I'm just knotting my thread real quick. So if anybody hasn't done any of these flowers yet or needs to catch up, this is a great time to pay attention as I go over them again. So I'm going to do the daisy flower. So I'm going to pop my needle up wherever you want to place them. I'm going to leave that totally up to you. Double thread in the needle, arm's length. Absolutely. Yep. So I'll just give you a second if you need. Genevieve, if you want to just give me a go, a signal when you're ready, I will wait so I don't jump ahead too far for you. And while we're doing that, does anybody want to check in? How are they doing? Are you on your second vamp yet? Maybe you can pop that in the chat. Okay, I'll give you a second to get your needle threaded and knotted. Yes, it is okay if you do one flower. Like I said, I'm just showing variations. If you choose to do one, if you choose to do 3 of one kind or 4 of one kind, I'm totally cool. It's up to you.
So Shannon, after we knot it at the end, we can just simply cut the string and start the second one, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Great.
So I'm going to cover these flowers one quick time, and then I think we'll do a quick check-in, see where everybody's at. So if you have a second, you want to pop it in the chat, that would be cool. If you're on your first vamp, second vamp, because I'd like to at least start the puckering process this evening. We are back again tomorrow and again on Saturday, but and then if we get time Saturday, I'll show you guys how to do some of this edging. So this will be our filler, some edging, or how to embellish your moccasin if we have the time to do so.
And Shannon, just so you know, we have another 45 minutes right now. The next session with Skills Ontario starts at 8:45.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead if you're ready to for the instructions for the flowers. I'll show you the daisy one, like this one right here. So I'm going to grab this yellow bead. I'm going to pick up a yellow bead here. So I'm going to start with only one bead, the yellow, which will be the center of my flower. If you choose to use another color, that's fine too. I'm going to use my finger to hold that yellow bead in place, and I'm going to pop down to the behind. And then that yellow bead is now secure into place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my needle back up. I'm going to come beside the yellow bead, pull my thread through, and then I'm going to put on 7 of the orange beads. So I'm just going to thread 7 beads onto my string here. Yep. And then I'm just going to maneuver my orange beads around that yellow bead. Sometimes can be very tricky. So I see where it's going to be, where it's going to lie. And then I'm going to pop my needle right back down where I started. And see, you'll see my beads are standing up. That's okay. Use my thumb, place them back down so I can see them lying. And then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop back up in between a few beads, and I'm going to tack them down. So I'm going to pop back up again by the yellow bead. So on the inside of the flower, pull my needle through, and I'm going to go through 2 of these beads right here. Give my thread just a little tug for tension. And then I'm going to pop my needle down to the back. And I'm just going to do that all the way around the flower. So I'm going to go through them a couple of times randomly. And then that will secure the beads to the leather, so they won't be popped up like that. And then that's it. That's the daisy flower. Easy peasy. Pop back down. Maybe. Here we go.
Awesome. Really, really good engagement in the chat. I love that you guys are reaching out in the chat if you need help or any further details or guidance. Definitely encouraging using the chat as well as the raise hand icon.
Yeah.
So Sebastian, you actually asked a really awesome question. You said, is it okay if I just do one flower? And that's absolutely okay.
Yep. I just wanted to provide options and show you guys a couple of different techniques, because I think it's very important to start out with the fundamentals and the very basics. And then if it's something that you like and you want to run with, by all means do so. You'll likely have beads left over. So please use them, you know, pull out a backpack or some extra felt or something and practice. And, you know, maybe there's something there for you. And then maybe there isn't. Not everybody is, it's not for everybody. There's different things for other people as well. Maybe it's dream catchers, maybe it's leather work, maybe it's sewing, maybe it's music or dance. Everybody has their thing that they're good at and that they like.
Yes.
Okay, so the daisy flower, that's it. So I'll move on. I'll show you the second flower here. So I'm just gonna pop my needle back up. We're gonna do the, I don't know what kind of flower you wanna call that, but the long tube beads, those are called bugle beads. That's the flower I'm gonna show you now. Sorry, had to step out for a bit. How's it going? Is anyone needing to use the what? Tech room? Oh.
Yep. So Kathy's just
Cool.
reminding us, everyone, that we do have a tech room. If anyone needs, you know, kind of like a one-on-one, they need help or something's not working on their Zoom, there is a tech room and there are NEPAM representatives available for you if you need further guidance outside this chat. There's also the quiet room as well. I seen Johnny, I seen you were stretching. I said, just looking, Johnny, when you were stretching, I was like, I need to stretch my back as well. So I'm definitely encouraging you youth that are sitting down, if you need to stand up and get your body flowing, or, you know, get your blood flowing, because we are sitting stationary. So it does improve I guess it does, it changes something in our creativity when we just kind of for a moment stand, maybe look away and then come back in to refocus. So just putting that reminder in there about our tech room as well as our quiet room. Go ahead, Shannon.
Awesome. How do you stop beating on a piece? So to stop beating, you're just going to turn it over and then you're going to knot on the back. So you're just going to tie a knot the best you can. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times, but go ahead and give it a practice. And after I get through this flower, I'll show how to knot off at the back, if that's okay. Okay, so for the second flower, I have my yellow bead here. I am gonna, same way I put it on for the daisy, same thing. I'm gonna hold it into place, pop my needle down the back, and then that's gonna secure my bead down. And now I'm gonna pop up. And however you want to put these bugle beads on to make that flower is up to you. You want to go all the way around it. You want to go halfway around it. Again, I'll show you the sample. Let me get in the camera frame here over this way. Oh, not quite, Shannon. Now I gotta come down this way over. There we go. So I'll leave that up to you, however you want to do it. So now to put a bugle bead on, I'm gonna run my needle through that bugle bead like so. And then I'm going to lay it down where I'd like it to be, just like that. And then I'm going to pop my needle right there. And now I'm at the back, and now I'm going to pop back up.
So Shannon, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process. We have a couple questions of, you know, once we finish one vamp, are we moving to the other? So yes, once you finish beading one vamp, you are going to repeat the same process for the other side of your vamp.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get the vamps beaded and then we'll move on, because then we'll be done with the beads. We can package them back in our baggies there and set them aside. And then I will show you how to split your sinew, and then we'll start going through the sewing process.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, so I'm still laying bugle beads here. So again, I'm going to leave that up to you. However many you choose to put around to make your flower with your bugle beads, that is up to you.
Awesome. So Shannon, she's just finishing up the other side of her vamp. I can speak from experience. I love the technique, Shannon. How many times have we beaded one side of something and then decided we don't really like it, and then we kind of just sit that project on the side, right? So I love your technique of what you do to one side, you do to the other side, and you're kind of getting them both finished, you know, the same process for both sides. So I love that you decided to, you know, once you're done the vamps, on this side, let's do the vamps on the other side, and then the sewing is finishing them up, because there's been too many projects of mine where I kind of looked at it and decided, oh, that doesn't really look good. I'm not even gonna try the other side. But like you said, I'm really supporting this technique because it allows, right, our learners to learn from their one side. One of our youth had said, my first one looks way, or my second one looks way better than the first one I did. And I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Chloe, no, they don't have to match. That is totally up to you. I'll leave that again to your creativity. Okay. I'm not going to stop that process here. All I'm doing is I'm showing you a technique. And if you're stuck, by all means, use mine. If not, you want to give it a go on your own. I'm trying to allow that in the time frame that we have. So I have three here, three little petals, I guess we'll call them. I am going to go ahead and throw on 2 more, and then I'll show you the sequence one, which is super easy. It's like 2 steps to the sequent one, and then that's it for the flowers. And then the vine, you just throw it on there if you choose to. Maybe it's a petal, maybe it's not. It's, again, I'm leaving some of that up to you. I'd like you guys to put a little bit of your own creativity. We all have pretty well the same beads and materials, and the outcomes will all look very different. And maybe tomorrow I'll bring in some of the ones. I have them down in my car actually, because I used them for a presentation today. I will bring them in and I will show you some of the different ones that have been sent back into the project for you to see. And everybody's been kind of showing a little bit different, but at the same time, they look different as well. Okay, so that's how I've chosen to put those on. There's my other flower. I could go ahead and put another one on there if I would like to make it a full flower, but I'm gonna leave it like that, I think. So now I'm gonna show you the knot, and then I'm gonna do the sequent one. So for those that were asking about the knot, I'm all done my beadwork. I'm gonna flip my vamp over to the back where I can see all my threads, and I'm just gonna make a loop using my hand here. I know it's hard to see because of the thread and the angle here. I am going to do my best. So then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my needle through that loop, pull it all the way through. I'm going to make that loop a little bit smaller so that my hand over here can manage it. And now I'm going to stretch it out because there's a little bit of a knot right there. And I'm going to push that loop to the base of the leather to make the knot. My finger is going to go over it. I'm going to hold it into place as I pull, and then that's going to create my knot. I'm going to do that again. And this is something I encourage you to practice. Take the time. Knotting, you don't think too much about it. It is a skill because the knots never go where you want them to go until you've practiced it and you've got it down pat. So it is something you, by all means, practice. It doesn't seem like much, but it can be. So there it is, all knotted off. Now you can cut it and move on to your second vamp. But right now I'm going to move on and show the sequin beadwork. So I'm going to pop my needle up where I want it to be. Now I'm going to grab my sequin over here. So the sequin flower kind of looks like a cup. So I want it to, I'm going to put my needle through it just like that. And now I'm going to grab a bead, whatever color bead you want. Orange, yellow, green, whatever you have there. And now, so I put it on, it's lying in the cup of the flower. And now I'm just going to go around the bead and I'm going to go back down the whole of the sequin flower, just like that. And there we go. The sequin flower is in place. And now again, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to give it a knot off. And then that will secure it. And that's it. Awesome. Yeah. It is a lot. Again, beading, the beadwork and the techniques, it's repetitive. I don't mind repeating myself as many times as I need to. And those are our flowers. So once you have both your vamps done, give me a thumbs up, let me know, and then we will I'll show you the next steps will be we'll split our sinew and thread our larger needle, and then we will start assembling. So for this step, you will need a pen or a marker, something handy, because we are going to mark, we are going to fold our pieces and we're going to mark the halfway point so that when we're sewing, we kind of have even places. So if you need that stretch or whatever, it's a good time to get up and get yourself a marker or a pen or a pencil, something that will mark your leather. And then when you're ready, give me a thumbs up and we'll go through those next steps. If anybody else needs me to cover anything that we've already done with the vamps, the beadwork, please, this is your time to ask. I will go over it one more time if you need it while I wait for the thumbs up and the go ahead for everybody for us to move on to the next step. Is that okay?
Great, thank you, Shannon.
Awesome. Okay, the stem, still on the second one. Brandy, how do I do the second one? Okay, you're going to do the second one the same way you did the first one, unless you want to do it differently. That's up to you. So as you can see, this was my first one I brought in with the session this evening. I wanted to have one so that you guys seen the end project of what our moccasins will look like. And then here is my vamp to match that one. Awesome. All right, so we got most done both single flower and stem on each. Awesome, good stuff. All right.
Wonderful. Good job, everybody. Pushing
So,
through.
yeah, somebody asked for me to show the stem again. So for those that are done and ready, by all means, take a minute, stretch, get yourself a pen or a pencil. We will need something to mark the leather for the next segment. For right this minute, I'm going to show how to do the stem one more time, and then we'll get ready to start assembling. So I'm going to show you the stem here, and that's up to you how you want to do the stem. Maybe I'll do the stem on this one right here with the bugle beads, and then maybe I'll do just a couple of leaves on the daisies so that you can see what that looks like too. So I'll pop my needle down, come back up. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab some of my green beads. I choose to go with 5. I work with in sequence of 3 or 5 beads. For this, I'm going to do 5 for the stem. And I just lay them down however I want. And then I'm just going to use my thumb to hold them in place as I pop my needle down. And they're going to be loose and wobbly, as you can see. But I'm going to fix that. So I'm going to come back up in the middle of the 5 beads there. Right there. Pull my needle all the way through. Then I'm going to go back through 3 of those beads. So I'm going to go back through them. And I'm going to pull my thread. I'm going to give it a little tug, and that will secure it. And as you can see, they're not as wobbly. They're a little more secure now. And again, you just want to be mindful of the beads that you have. So like if you only have 20 green beads, and mind you, I did not count them out when I packaged them up. But say you only have 20, you're not going to want to put 15 on one. You're going to want to try to even them out so that you have enough for both of your vamps. So just be mindful of that. So I think I'm only going to I put 5 on the first time. I think I'm only going to put 3 on this time to finish off this stem for myself. And the same process, but now I only have to go back through 2 of them. So I'm going to come up in between the 3 beads that I put on, and I'm going to go back through 2 of them to do the same process. It just snugs them into place. Pull my thread through, give it a little tug, pop back down the bottom. And there we go. There's my stem. And I'll show you a little leaf. We'll do a little leaf over here. on the daisy flower, and it's probably gonna only be like 3 beads, I think. I don't know, we'll see. Sometimes it's just figuring it out, like it's not an exact science. It can be if you want it to be, or you can just kind of figure it out as you go along. Or, you know, might lay it down and be like, not really feeling it, you know. Okay, I'm gonna go with 3 right here, and then I think I'm gonna put 2 more on beside it, and I think see what that looks like. It's kind of like trial and error. You learn what you like and what you don't like, and you do it, might not do it again, or maybe you'll do it, you might do it a few more times. Beading is a learning process. It's definitely a lesson in patience and problem solving. Okay, so I'm going to come up right beside 3 that I put on. I think I'm going to put 2 more on, 2 more green beads. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to connect them. So I got those 2 beads on there, and that 3rd bead, the end bead on the first row I put on, I'm going to go through it actually. So it's going to kind of connect them in a way that I hope so. Can you see that there? There we go. So it kind of looks like a leaf to me. And then I'm just going to put my needle back through at the top of those beads there. And now I'm going to go back again and tack down. So I'm going to tack that. I put 2 on there, so I'm going to go through the 1 and then scoot over to that bead on the other side so that it aligns them together. Hold them in place, give my string a little tug to secure them, and then I'm going to pop my needle back down. And then there's my little leaf. Kind of hard to see the green on the turquoise leather here, but I hope that's helpful.
Somebody's asking how to tie off again.
Okay, so I've done my leaf right there. I'm going to flop my leather over to the back where I can see all my threads. So I'm going to make a loop. Again, I'm sorry, I know it's hard to see, but I'm going to do my best here. So I have a little loop here. I'm going to put my needle through that loop, pull my needle through, and then you can see the string is tied right there. Use my fingers right here, push that right down to the base of the leather, put my index finger over it, and then I'm going to pull. And then my knot is right to the base of the leather. And I'm going to do that 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. It's just, you want to ensure that your knot is there. And knotting is one of those things you have to practice because the knots sometimes end up all over the place. You just want to do your best with it. So give it a practice. And that's it. That's the stems, the flowers, the knotting. How are we doing?
So we have lots that are saying this is so fun. We have some that are commenting saying this is relaxing. Oh, we have a couple pricks, hoping that it's not too right. Oh my goodness, those needle pricks, I know how those are. Definitely when it's almost like they happen when you're not. Oh, we have somebody that is done. Awesome. Awesome.
So if you're all done, my suggestion to you is I would go ahead, take your beads that are left on your plate. It's a paper plate, so you can fold it very carefully, not to spring it forward so your beads go flying, because that's happened. And then I'm just going to pour them back into my bag, because you want to keep these to later, because again, when we get to you know, even maybe tomorrow night, it just depends on how you guys power through these. or Saturday, I'll show you how to use your leftover beads to do some embellishments. As you can see here, I did my flower, I got my leather together, and then the bag of just orange beads, I did a little edging just to freshen it up a little bit there. And then I had beads left in my baggie. So I just did a little bit of a, a design along the cuff there just to add a little bit of embellishment to it. So if we do have time, if we get them together, you'll be able to do some of that as well. So my beads are back in my bag. I'm going to keep my plates and I'm just going to set it aside. When you're all done for the evening, make sure you guys put everything back into your baggie so that you have everything ready to go for tomorrow. So my vamps are beaded. And now, again, put your needle back onto your felt. You don't want it laying loosely around. And we're going to use our bigger leather needle to sew our leather. But you will need a pen, pencil, marker, something so that we can mark our leather. Because when we go to like, we're going to fold our vamps in half here. And you're just going to put like a little marking so that you know it's the halfway mark. And we're going to do the same thing on the base so that when we sew, we're going to be sewing so that it's even. And I will turn this inside out, this moccasin right here that I did, so that you can have a look. It's not pretty. It doesn't need to be. So this is the moccasin inside out, and this is how we're going to be sewing. So we will be sewing our pieces inside out. So this is the bird's eye view of what you're going to be looking at when we sew it together. But we're going to mark with the halfway point so that we're sewing. We're going to sew from the middle and do one half, and then from the other half and do the other side. Left to right or right to left, whatever you're comfortable with first. So for those of you that are done, again, I will just get yourself a marker or a pen, and I will show you how to mark. I have a handy dandy pen right here. Again, I'm going to fold my vamp piece in half, the toe where the toe would be, and that's up to you. For me, my flowers are this way, so this is the toe for me. Let me get it in the screen here. The way my flowers are laying, they're facing me, and that's my preference. So that would be the toe. I'm going to turn it over to the back, fold my vamp in half. I'm going to take my pen here, and I'm just going to do a little mark, just a little mark so that I know. So when I go to sew, I know that that's my halfway point. So I'm going to do that on my vamp. And then I'm also going to do that on this big base piece. So you just got to figure out which side you're going to do it on. Remember, we're going to sew our pieces inside out. So I'm just going to fold it in half. And then I'm just going to take my pen and I'm going to mark the top corner there, just like that. So that I know that my pieces are going to line up. And then that's going to tell me that's half. And this is the other half. So that's what you can do while you're waiting. And then this handy dandy piece is going to come into the equation because we're going to be sewing through 3 pieces. Don't be alarmed. It's going to be a little challenging. So you probably will likely, if you haven't used your scrap leather yet, you'll be using it in this segment.
Where do you put the line on the larger piece of leather again?
On the larger
Same place?
piece?
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. You're going to fold it in half, just like so. And then you're going to mark the tip, the round part, as you can see here, the rounding part.
I can't put the line on my leather since it's black leather and I only have black pens.
Okay. Do you have a white pencil crayon?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I would just suggest take your pen anyways and just like run it a couple of times over the tip, because maybe it'll be enough to just score it enough to know that it's the middle.
Hopefully. I'm gonna mute myself again. And that's so when the dogs go absolutely nuts, it doesn't go through my mic.
If I
Good
want
call,
the
Jenny.
top straight on outside, is the line in the inside? The line will be on the inside because we're going to be sewing our piece inside out. So you're going to want the line will be right here and it'll be face down from you. So this piece that we're looking at right here on my board, this will be my outside. This will be my inside. And I will go through that again because I make that mistake and I sometimes still make that mistake when I make moccasins. I've done that a few times where I've sewn them. I'm like, I know I have to sew them inside out, but the odd time I'm not paying attention because I'm just, going through the motions and then I've sewn them the wrong way. So we'll go through that. So we're actually going to want our lines to be on the outside at this moment. Right now they'll be on the outside, but when we're done, they will be on the inside. So our beadwork will go face down because we're going to be sewing our moccasin inside out. And then when we're done sewing it, we'll flip it inside right. If that makes sense. And if not, just tell me, I'll say it another 500 times if I need to, because sometimes I need to hear it my own self too. So that's where this handy dandy piece is going to come into play. This is called a welt. And it's just going to lay over top. And we're going to sew it in because when we're done, it's going to give our moccasin a nice finished look around the toe there. And we'll trim it down so it looks real nice and sharp. So yeah, again, for those that are done and ready, so you can put your smaller needle back on your felt piece. You can unravel your card with the sinew. Again, this is my business card. So my email is on there, my text number, and there's a QR code right here, which if you scan it, it'll take you right to my Facebook page. If you got any questions, you want to email, you want to message me on Facebook on the page there, you're more than welcome to do so. I will get a video up of the same steps we covered tonight. It will be there hopefully later on this evening. And yeah, so as I'm just doing it, there's my muscle memory as I'm talking. So to split your sinew, and I'll go over this a couple of times. So I just unraveled my card with the sinew. I'm now just holding my sinew like this, and I'm just running my finger along it like this to straighten it out. Some people might have really sticky sinew, but no worries. Okay, so now to split it. So now I've got my sinew flat. I'm just going to take my fingers right here and I'm going to pull. I'm not pulling right from the edge. I'm going to pull from right here. Your sinew, I'm going to pull it apart, kind of like a cheese string. It might get a little hairy and that's okay. But your sinew should split 3 or 4 times. So I'm just carefully going to pull it apart. If it naturally comes apart 3 or 4 times, let it, don't force it. Sometimes you have to give it a little tug, that's okay too. So I've gotten one off, I'm going to set it aside. And then I'm going to go and do the rest, but I'm going to save this right now so that I can walk through those steps again for those that aren't quite there. But for those that are done, go ahead and split your sinew. Again, your sinew will split 3 or 4 times. Split it all, get it all split. And then what I suggest is take your card again and rewrap your extra sinew around it so that you keep it so that it doesn't get tangled and knotted up. So just wrap it back up along the card so that you can keep track of it. And then once you've done that, and you have one piece left out, you're gonna thread your larger needle. This time we won't be doubling it, you'll only be single threading it. So do not tie your knot to the eye of the needle, just leave a tail hanging and then knot the bottom of your thread. So one of your strings through your needle will be longer than the other. So what I mean by that is I'll show you with this one right here. I have a needle already threaded. Here's my short little tail, not too far away from my needle. And then my longer piece of sinew right here. And then it's got a knot at the end of my thread here. All right. Again, I will walk through these steps again. I'm just for the ones that are finished and ready for the next steps, I'm kind of just preparing them. So we'll give it a couple minutes. I'm going to take a minute to stop talking and have a drink, and then we'll see where everybody's at and if we're ready to move on.
So while Shannon's just grabbing a drink, I just want to be mindful of the time. We have 8:31 and this session is to end at 8:45. Yeah, so I'm just giving a friendly, timely reminder. Some of the youth may have noticed that in the chat, I have been dropping a few messages in there. I'm trying my best not to distract our beaters, our moccasin makers in the chat, but I know that we had gotten a little bit of a late, not a late start, but we had just fully dived right into the event. So we had just a little bit of time to connect with youth and let them know how to access and navigate the more opportunities that are on the pre-event experience webpage. So there's a lot of amazing prizes to be won. So if you missed my messages in the chat, I just went over. There's a scavenger hunt prize. There is 2 helicopter passes, prize to be won for completing a survey. There's also $50 gift cards for those who complete the evaluation form. So there's a lot of great prizes and gifts to be won and to be earned. And I just want to really encourage all of you. Not sure who our night owls are, but if you have some time tonight to go through the pre-experience event page on our webpage and just kind of go through the different links, especially under Thursday is where you'll find the helicopter. Click here to complete the survey. I also had said I spy a helicopter, so I'm just really encouraging our youth to become super familiar. Yeah, become familiar with the event page, because that's how you're going to stay on top of the many opportunities and the many prizes to be won. So I just wanted to give everybody just that friendly reminder. If you haven't gotten a chance to do that, that's okay. Definitely take some time tonight, either before you go to bed, even talk about it. You know, I encourage other youth to message one another and say, hey, did you find this okay? Or, you know, did you find this exciting? Things like that. Connect with one another and see where everybody's at with the pre-scavenger hunt, right? It's on Saturday. It's awesome. So yeah, just that little reminder to make sure. I know we're super busy in our workshop, but to skim through, you know, really become familiar with our event page, because that is where you will find all of these opportunities to win and to take a chance. So yeah, some have PD days tomorrow, so you have lots of time in the morning and in the afternoon to become experts at our Opportunity Knocks 2021 event webpage. That's my message for right now. Carry on, Shannon.
All right, so I'm just, for those that are done and ready to go, I am going to walk through the steps real quick. Again, I'm just going to cover the split in the sinew. I just ran my fingers through it to flatten it out, and I'm not going to go right to the edge to split it. I'm just going to come down a little bit like a cheese string, and I'm just going to pull it apart. It will pull apart 3 or 4 times. That's cool. Pull it apart, and then you're going to wrap the excess pieces back around the card, and you're going to work with just one piece. So split it 3 or 4 times. The sinew will let you know how many times it will split. And then you're going to take your larger needle and you're going to thread it single threaded, and then you're going to knot it.
Don't knot it at the needle.
Not at the needle, yeah. Okay, how do we mark the pieces? Okay, so again, you're going to go ahead and take your vamp piece here. You're going to fold it in half. Take your handy dandy pen, marker, whatever you have there, and just put a little line on it. So it's on the back side of your beadwork, not on the front of it. right here, and you're gonna do that with the same thing with the larger, the base piece. You're gonna fold it in half, like so, and then you're just gonna mark, again, mark the tip so that you know it's the halfway point. Then you're gonna flip it over so that your marking, which is gonna be on the inside, is actually gonna be on your surface, on your table, whatever it is, your surface that you're working on this evening. And then you're gonna take this handy dandy welt that I talked about, and you're just gonna lay it over top of the base piece. As you can see, it doesn't go all the way around because we will cut it and it will get trimmed down later. It just gives it a nice finished look when the moccasin is done. And then, I just don't want to poke myself here with the needle. You're going to take your beaded piece, which is marked. So your beadwork is here. Your beadwork is going to go face down. So both of your markings that you just marked your leather with will be on the outside. The base piece, the marking will be face down on your surface, and on the marking on your van piece will be face up looking at you. And you're just going to line those, line them up like so. Make sure you have your welt piece in there. That gets sandwiched between the two. So every time you're sewing, you're going to be sewing through all three pieces. That is super important to catch all three pieces. You're going to put the marking on the side. Just take a look at your leather, and the nicer side, the smoother side, it really depends, because if the leather was really marked up, use that as your inside. So the inside of the moccasin will be actually what's facing out right now. All right, I'll leave that to your discretion, however you choose to do it. But if your leather is marked up and scored, use that as the inside. So it's really important to know when you're picking leather. Most people, when they are picking leather and they're looking at leather, they're looking for the best smooth piece, but realistically, we would use everything. It didn't matter if it was marked up or scored, scarred up, we used it, because that's our respect that we're paying that animal, is that we're going to use it. So no matter how it looks, we use it. We find a purpose for it. Okay, so I have my lines lined up here. My needle is threaded with the sinew. I'm using the larger leather needle, and I'm gonna go through all three pieces about 1/4 inch into the material. Push my needle through again. If it's hard to push through, use your little scrap piece of leather you have here and use it to push your needle through. Remember to try to keep your needle straight. You don't want to weaken the integrity of the metal of the needle for it to break. So now I'm going to just pull my sinew all the way through to my knot is at the base, and I'm just going to loop my needle through one more time.
So let's just pause for one tiny second, Shannon.
Yeah.
We have a couple, there's a few minutes left, and we have a couple youth that are wondering how to thread the sinew. Also, how do you split it? They just want to review before we go to the next. Awesome.
All right, so here's the sinew one more time. I'm going to run my finger over it like this. I've unwrapped it from the card that it was on, all of it. And now I've flattened it out like a cheese string. I'm going to pull, but I'm not pulling from the top. I'm just going to go down just a little bit. I'm going to pull my sinew like this. It's going to split a couple of times. This has already been split once, so this one is only going to split 3 times, but I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to split it all the way down. Wrap up the excess sinew on the card, and then when you have one thread complete, you're going to grab your larger needle. So you had 2 needles given to you. You had a smaller leather needle and a larger leather needle. Larger needle means larger pricks. Then you're going to thread your needle. You will not be doubling your sinew. Sinew is super strong. You might need to cut it just a little bit on an angle so it fits through the eye of the needle. So like this, as you can see, I'm going to leave a tail. So that's it. That little bit of leather is good, or leather sinew is going to be right there. This piece right here. And now I'm going to go down to the end of the long one. And that is where my knot is going to go. I'm going to knot my knot right there. Just like tying a balloon. I'm going to do it twice.
Awesome. Brandy, I'm not sure if you meant the whole thickness of the sinew or the whole length of the sinew, hon? If you could just emphasize in the chat, we'll help you out.
Split the sinew into more pieces. It will split into 3 or 4 pieces. So that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna split it 3. You should have 3 or 4. Yes, the whole thing. But you're only gonna use 1 piece. So all the extra one that you did, you're gonna wrap it back up and put it back on the card like so, because you will need it for your second one. Or if there's some mishaps, you might need extra sinew. So you wanna wrap it back up so you don't lose it and it doesn't get tangled up. And then you're gonna set it aside.
For stitching the actual moccasins.
Yeah.
Instead of doing what we did with the beadwork, you go around the entire leather kind of, yeah. So you kind of wrap it kind of round, right?
I'm
Can you show
gonna
me?
walk. I am gonna walk through those steps
Okay.
right now. Right now.
Okay, thank you.
So I've gone through all 3 pieces where I've marked. All 3 of them have been sewn. I've gone over it twice. And now I'm going to show you how to make a pucker, which are these pleats. So you're going to get 6 or 7 of them, depending on how big and how spaced out you make them. But I would like to show you that step, because if you can, you're able to work on it, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So to make a pucker, I'm going to show you the only pieces that you're moving here. You have to sew through all 3 pieces, but the only piece you're going to move to get that pucker is the base, the back piece. So I'm just going to use my thumb and my index finger, and I'm going to push together a little pleat so that it looks like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it with my thumb and index finger, and I'm going to take my needle right here, and I'm going to run my needle right along by my thumb and index finger. So I'm coming right along the side of that pucker like that. And then I'm going to run my needle all the way through. Carefully not to knock my light over. I'm going to pull it right through, give it a small tug, and I'm going to go over that same stitch one more time. So I want to do it, go over it twice. This way I'm securing it into place. And then I'm just going to give it an extra tug. So now I can let go. My pucker's in place. I'm happy with it. Now I'm going to do just a plain stitch right beside it. So right beside that pucker, I'm just going to run my needle through 1 stitch. Just like that. Give it a tug.
We have one question while we're puckering. How do we
Yeah.
know what side will be facing up,
Like
like the pucker? How do we know what side will be facing up?
I'm just trying to understand the question.
That's okay. Hunter, did you mean?
Like for the outside of it? Because right now we're sewing it inside out. So it's up to you what side is going to be down, what side's going to be your inside. So because I look at mine right here, I have some pen marks right here, but my leather's in good, is in a good condition. But the pen marks are going to tell me that's the inside of my moccasin, so it's going to be out. My beadwork is going to be face down, so that tells me that's going to be on the inside. So I'm going to sew it inside out, and then after, just like this one, I'm going to stick my hand in there and pull it, and it'll be right side in.
Perfect.
If I've got that. So I'm going to just cover this real quick, because if you continue to pucker when we're done here, as you can see in your base piece, there's a little divot where it curves out. Where that divot is right here, that's where you're going to stop sewing. So you're probably going to get, as you can see here, let me tell you, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 puckers. You could get 10 in there even. It just depends on how big or small you make them. And then I did just straight stitches. So I did my puckering, which is at the toe. And then I have some straight stitches, which took me right to that divot. Once you get to that divot, that's where you stop. Okay. So if you continue to do this after this evening, again, get your puckers in there, get some straight stitching in there. And when you get to that divot, that is where you stop. And you want to make sure once you've ended there, you start back at the top and you do the same thing on the other side. So if you have 6 puckers on your right side, you kind of want to have 6 or 7 puckers on your left side. That's where it matters. So I'm going to turn this right side in so you can take a look at what it looks like. There's my puckers at the toe. I have 6 on each side. And then there's my straight stitching, and up here where I've ended, that's where the divot was.
All right. Okay.
Crash course. So one more time, I'm going to show the pucker one more time. The only piece you're moving is your base piece with your finger, your index finger and your thumb. I'm gonna push that piece right beside it. And I kind of want them to be the same size. That's kind of important. Now I'm gonna take my needle, I'm gonna run my needle right along my fingers here where that pucker is. And I'm pull it all the way through.
All
And
right.
I'm gonna do it twice because I want to make sure that it's in there. So I'm gonna do that pucker real quick. Just like that. And then I'm gonna throw just a plain stitch right beside it before I do another pucker. And that's the puckering. And like I said, I'm gonna do like 6 of them, 6 or 7, and then I'm gonna do some straight stitching until I get to this divot. When I get to this divot, that's when I'm done. Making sure.
Shannon, are we going to be able to recap the puckering? Some of our students are asking if that's going to be covered again tomorrow, the puckering.
Yes, we will, because I understand some are still on their second piece.
Some are
It's not a
still
big
trying,
deal.
yes,
Yeah,
some are
I'm
still
just-
trying to thread their sinew on their needle, hun.
Yeah.
I just want to give a friendly reminder. It is 8:46, Shannon, and we are going
Okay.
to, I'm not shutting you down because we'll be
Yeah,
back tomorrow. But if you could just leave our youth with some encouraging words,
Yeah.
and we will reconvene tomorrow.
Yeah, so if you're still beading, by all means, finish your beadwork up. Try to have that done definitely by tomorrow and have your pieces marked. If you can't remember how we marked them, that's okay. We can leave that till tomorrow. I'll recap everything we did this evening real quick, and then we'll get into the puckering. But if you did get the quick lesson on how to split your sinew, go ahead and do that, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. And have a great night. And thank you guys for all the engagement and asking questions and sharing. And it's greatly appreciated. It's nice to see everybody. And Mama P.
For now, right, Shannon?
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Geraldine.
much. Yes, thank you. Everybody in the chat are enjoying it. It was a very relaxing, very informative. I know we're going to be able to talk more about truth and reconciliation, residential schools over the next 2 sessions that we have together. So
Yeah.
we will reconvene tomorrow. And all the youth, if you could just leave this one and go and Sherry, are we leaving this Zoom and then we're going into another one, right? For Skills Ontario?
Yes, yes.
All right, great,
Okay.
awesome. All right, everybody, I
Thank
will
you.
see you in 1 second for the Skills Ontario
Yeah.
panel.
Good night.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.